Hey everyone, and welcome to Mindful Learning. Today, we embark on a journey of ancient wisdom and timeless teachings through a collection of Stoic tales. These stories have been passed down through generations and have stood the test of time, offering us insight and guidance on how to live a virtuous life. The lessons contained in these stories are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. So, sit back, relax, and let the power of storytelling transport you to another world where the wisdom of the ages awaits. Let's begin our journey together and discover the Stoic teachings hidden within these tales. Two monks. In ancient times, two monks set out on a journey. As they traveled, they came across a beautiful young woman standing by a small stream. She was struggling to get across the water, and the monks could see that she was distressed. Now, according to tradition, monks were forbidden from even speaking to members of the opposite sex, let alone touching them. But the elder monk, without hesitation, lifted the woman onto his shoulders and carried her across the stream. The two monks continued on their journey, but the younger one couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. For days, he was filled with anger and frustration. Finally, he couldn't hold it in any longer and asked the elder monk why he had broken the rules. The elder monk simply smiled and replied, "My dear friend, I put the woman down by the river, but you are still carrying her in your mind." The younger monk was taken aback. He realized that he had been carrying his anger and judgment about the situation for days, long after the incident had passed. He understood that the true burden had been the weight of his own thoughts and emotions. The test of three. As the sun beat down on the bustling streets of Athens, a man with a mischievous grin on his face rushed through the crowd toward Socrates. His heart was pounding with excitement, eager to share the unflattering gossip he had just heard about Socrates' friend. "Hey Socrates," he exclaimed as he spotted the philosopher, "you wouldn't believe what I've heard about your friend." But before he could say another word, Socrates interrupted him with a calm but firm voice. "Wait a moment," he said. "Before you tell me what it is you want to say, let's put it to the test of three." The man looked confused, but Socrates continued. "That's right," he said. "Here's the first test. Is it true? Is what you wish to tell me about my friend something you've confirmed to be true? Or is it just hearsay that you are now spreading without proof?" The man's excitement began to wane as he realized he didn't have any concrete evidence to back up his words. He shifted on his feet and mumbled, "Oh, well, I haven't actually confirmed the story myself. I only just heard it in the marketplace." Socrates nodded slowly. "I see," he said. "So you were about to tell me something that you weren't sure to be true. You were about to spread information that might be false, huh? Fine. Let's see if what you have to say passes the next test. Is it good?" The man's face turned bright crimson as he realized that the gossip he was about to spread was, in fact, not a positive thing. "No, it's not. It's actually a bad thing that I heard," he confessed. Socrates raised his eyebrows. "That's surprising," he said. "You hurried over to tell me something about a friend of mine that was bad, but might not even be true. Well, let's see if you pass the third test. Is it useful?" The man hesitated before answering. "No, I don't think so," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. Socrates gazed at the man intently, his piercing eyes seeming to look deep into his soul. "I see. Well, if what you want to tell me is not true, not good, and not useful, I suggest you don't tell me at all," he said. Two wolves. As the sun began to set over the Cherokee village, the old man sat down by the fire with his grandson, hoping to impart some wisdom that he had learned throughout his long and eventful life. "A fight is going on inside me," he began, his voice low and grave. "It is a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves. One is evil, and he is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego." The young boy sat quietly, listening intently to his grandfather's words, taking them in and processing them. "The other is good," the old man continued, his voice warm and kind. "He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you, and inside every other person too. The boy thought about his grandfather's words for a minute, mulling them over in his head before asking, "Which wolf will win?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." The Tortoise. Zhuangzi, the wise sage, was fishing one day when a prince approached him with an offer to become the supreme chancellor in his father's kingdom. But the old man had other priorities, for he knew the importance of living a free and unbound life. Without turning around, Zhuangzi retorted with a story. There is a most sacred tortoise that has been dead for almost 3,000 years. The king keeps it packed up in a beautifully crafted box on the altar in his ancestral shrine. The prince listened, confused, as Zhuangzi went on. Do you think that tortoise would rather be dead and have its remains honored like this, or be alive and wagging its tail in the mud? The prince answered that, of course, the tortoise would rather be alive and free. Zhuangzi's response was simple and yet profound. Well then, leave me, for I, too, prefer to remain here, wagging my tail in the mud. The man with two wives. Many moons ago, when men could have multiple wives, a middle-aged man had a younger wife and an older wife. Both wives adored him, but for different reasons. The young wife couldn't stand her husband's graying hair, as she thought it made him look too old for her. Every night she would comb his hair and ruthlessly pluck out any white strands. Meanwhile, the older wife was thrilled to see her husband aging, as she didn't want to be mistaken for his mother. Each morning, she would style his hair and ferociously pluck out as many black strands as possible. Their rivalry was fierce, and their actions, as you would expect, had dire consequences. As the two wives fought over the man's hair, the man found himself going bald. The once lush locks on his head were now nothing more than a barren wasteland.